experts, and members of the public. If Allama Saad Hussain Rizvi calls for a long march against the government in Pakistan, it could potentially lead to a significant political crisis in the country. A long march is a political protest movement in which people march towards a specific destination or a government office or grievances. Such protests can cause traffic disruptions, and if they become violent, they can also lead to injuries and even loss of life. If the long march were to take place, it would likely lead to extensive media coverage both in Pakistan and around the world. Major news outlets would report on the events, and social media platforms would likely be abuzz with discussion and commentary. The demands of Allama Saad Hussain Rizvi. If the demands of the Long March are to reduce fuel prices and other basic commodities, this would likely be a topic of great concern for the people of Pakistan, and it could also attract significant media attention both within the country and internationally. The high cost of fuel and other basic necessities is a common issue in many countries, and it can have a significant impact on the lives of ordinary people. If Allama Saad Hussain Rizvi is calling for a long march to protest against these issues, it could potentially rally public support and bring attention to the issue. It is important to note that the success of the Long March in achieving its demands would depend on various factors, including the level of public support, the government's willingness to negotiate, and the overall political climate in the country. Nonetheless, the news coverage of the Long March would likely highlight the demands being made and the potential impact on the lives of ordinary people in Pakistan. The news coverage of the Long March would also depend on how the government and security forces respond to the protest movement. If the government takes a heavy-handed approach, it could lead to further unrest and could harm the country's reputation on the international stage. If the government is able to manage the situation peacefully, it could help defuse tensions and restore calm. Overall, a long march called by Allama Saad Hussain Rizvi against the government in Pakistan would likely be a significant news event with potential consequences for political stability and the country's international image. There are several actions that the government of Pakistan can take to lower fuel prices. Some of these actions include: reduce taxes and tariffs on imported fuel. The government can lower taxes and tariffs on imported fuel to reduce the cost of fuel for consumers. This can be done by reviewing the current tax structure and making necessary adjustments to reduce the burden on consumers. Promote alternative energy sources. There are several actions that the government of Pakistan can take to lower fuel prices. Some of these actions include: reduce taxes and tariffs on imported fuel. The government can lower taxes and tariffs on imported fuel to reduce the cost of fuel for consumers. This can be done by reviewing the current tax structure and making necessary adjustments to reduce the burden on consumers. Promote alternative energy sources. The government can invest in alternative energy sources such as solar, wind, and hydropower, which can reduce the country's dependence on imported fuel and lower the cost of energy. Improve fuel efficiency. The government can encourage the use of more fuel-efficient vehicles and machinery, which can reduce the amount of fuel consumed and lower the overall demand for fuel. Increase competition. The government can promote